Alright, in video number 3, we are going to set the relationships between the fact and dimension tables. Now if I come back over here to the slide deck, we are going to create the necessary primary key, foreign key relationships the way we have here in the diagram. Now the SQL Server diagramming tool here in the data source view is not the best diagramming tool in the world. It's functional. And what we're going to do is we're going to drag the foreign keys from the fact tables into the dimension tables. So as a very simple example, in fact internet sales, we've got the product key being dragged into the product dimension, and a little bit down further, also in the fact internet sales table, we've got the customer key being dragged into the customer key in the dimension. So we drag these from the foreign key in the fact table to the primary key in the dimension table. Now, a couple of other things we'll need to deal with here. First of all, the geography dimension, remember, that's not tied directly to either fact table. We won't, in either fact table, see the geography key. Instead, the geography key is found in the two-dimension tables. So we have a snowflake, a small snowflake scenario here, where the geography key from the customer dimension and the reseller dimension is going to be tied to the geography key in the main geography listing here. So that's one issue. Not a big one, but something that we need to take care of. Additionally, up in the date dimension, keep in mind that we have two role-playing relationships, or two sets of role-playing relationships, where in both fact reseller sales and fact internet sales, the order date, the due date, and the ship date are all tied to the date key. So we've got two sets of role-playing relationships. Now, it does not matter what order we do these in here. So we'll start off with the customer and reseller and the geography key situation. So I'm going to take the customer key from the fact table and drag it down to the customer key in VWDIM customer. So we drag into the primary key relationship. Now that adds a relationship arrow. Now the thing is, it doesn't appear visually that it's working. Actually, under the hood, it is pointing to the correct column. It's just a display issue. If I right-click on this relationship arrow and edit the relationship, it indeed is using the customer key between the two tables, where the foreign key is in VW Fact Internet Sales and the primary key is in VWDIM Customer. Well, if we really want these to point to the correct column, we can manually move the relationship arrow. Now, the only thing is you have to be careful if you do this, because if you start moving the dimension tables around and the fact tables around, the arrows won't visually come along for the ride. Again, they will still point to the correct column under the hood, and that's all that's really important. But visually, it won't realign correctly. So if I were to move either of these tables around, I'd have to also move the arrow around manually. So in that sense, not as powerful as some of the other diagramming tools in the world. We'll now take the reseller key and drag that to the reseller key down in VWDIM Reseller. And again, I'll try to keep some semblance of visual order here. And then, if I want to be able to look at sales on both sides by geography, well, I have to take the geography key from both VWDIM Reseller and VWDIM Customer and drag them into the geography key, both of these. This is the equivalent. Under the hood, Analysis Services is doing the equivalent of a join, if you want to think of it that way, between the two fact tables, the direct dimensions for reseller and customer to get to the indirect relationship here to the geography key. And again, I'll move the geography key reference up there. So that's one part. Now, both fact internet sales and fact reseller sales are tied to the promotion and to the product. So we're going to have arrows pointing and dragging into both. But I'm going to take care of the dates first. Now I'm going to take the order date key, the due date key, and the ship date key and drag them up into the date key. Now you might be wondering, can we take all three and drag them up to the date key? Can we do that? Well, if we do it, it needs to know the destination for all three of these. It only caught the first one. Well, if I click the drop down here again, I see the date key isn't available for the subsequent one. So unfortunately, unless someone knows of a shortcut I'm not aware of, we actually can't do all three at once. What we have to do is take each one manually and drag it up to date key. So I'm going to drag order date key, due date key, and ship date key, and move all of them up to VWDIM date. And then do the same thing over here. In VW Fact Internet Sales, take the order date, move it up to date key, take the due date, move it up to date key, and take the ship date key and move it up to date key. So 2 tables, 3 columns each, 6 role-playing dimensions overall across the 2 tables, all pointing up to date key. Now again, if you want to fix this visually, this is always a subjective thing, but what I'll try to do is have all of these pointing up into the date key. Always a little bit of a visual challenge here. And looks like I need to move those out a little bit so I can fit the third one in there. Again, this is not required functionally. And then take all 3 of these. Now this one was for the order date. So I'll move that back and then try to slide these down. So at least visually, notice how when I moved something, it automatically messed up the drawing I'd done earlier up to the date key. So that's the problem here, is the minute you start moving things around, you lose the visual link. But again, it's still pointing to the correct column under the hood. So this isn't required, but if you want to do it, that's how you do it. Now, another thing we can do in here, I'm going to put some annotations in. I can go down anywhere in the diagram, and I can just simply, now you might go looking for a right-click option to add an annotation. Actually, what you can do is just put the mouse wherever you want and start typing. So here is a referenced, I could spell, a referenced snowflake relationship. And then up here, I can just click the mouse right where I want to start typing. I can say, here is a role-playing relationship with dates, and then stretch that down. So you can put annotations wherever you want. And then finally, I'm going to take the product key from the 2 tables, and drag both of them over to the product key in dim product. Now here's where it really gets difficult visually, because we are now really kind of spanning tables. So this is where it gets a little bit harder to read. This relationship here on the product key is actually stretching over the diagrams. I'm not going to try to make it look nicer here. You could obviously try that on your own with different combinations of moving things around, but at least both the product key in VW Fact Reseller Sales and the product key in VW Fact Internet Sales are tied to the product key. And then finally, I'll take care of the promotion key. So the promotion key, I'll drag from the fact table to VW Dip Promotion, and then the same thing over here. Drag the promotion key over there. Now, what this is going to do, I'm going to come back and kind of tie something together. Back a few slides when I talked about what we could do at runtime, that we could slice and roll up any measure in any of these fact tables by any attribute in these dimensions. By having these relationships, that means that I'm going to be able to sum up tax amount and freight and sales by promotion name, or by promotion type, or by promotion category, or by calendar year, or by size range in the product side, or by color. That's what analytic databases give us the ability to do. We just have to meet it halfway by building these relationships in. All right, I'm going to save this. Now keep in mind what's being saved and what's not being saved. What's being saved in here are the relationships, not the actual data. So this is metadata, if you will. So the data source view just contains the reference to the tables and the relationships that we've dragged in here. That's going to be useful when we go to create the cube. So I'm going to stop this right now, and the next step is going to be to come up with the definition for the cube and the dimensions. So we've pointed to the tables or the views that we're going to use, and we've set the relationships, but we still haven't built the cube yet. That's going to be the next step. Now, if you want to review these relationships here, I can expand both VW Fact Internet Sales and VW Fact Reseller Sales, and I can expand the relationships so that we can see all the ones that we needed to create. So VW Fact Internet Sales was tied to dim customer on the customer key, to dim date using the 3 dates, to dim product using the product key, and to dim promotion using the promotion key. And then similar concept down here. Now they're in a different order, but that's fine. VW Fact Reseller Sales was tied to the 3 different ways to the date dimension in a role-playing relationship where the date key is serving 3 different purposes in the resellers table: due date, order date, and ship date. And then also the relationship on product, on promotion, and on reseller. And also customer and reseller have a relationship to VW dim geography down here at the bottom. So that takes care of the data source view, so I will save this and then close it. And then the next step is going to be to create the definition for the cube and the dimensions. So that'll be next.